Imagine waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror and asking yourself, why do I always start full of energy, only to quit halfway through? Have you ever felt like a phone that drains too fast, fully charged at first, but running out of power quickly, leaving you exhausted and unmotivated? The harsh truth is this: no one stays motivated naturally all the time, not even the most successful people in the world. They don't rely on random bursts of inspiration. They build systems and habits that keep their drive alive, even on the toughest days. And if you want to uncover the secret to waking up every day with unstoppable motivation, now is the time to find out. When people talk about motivation, they often imagine a spark of energy that suddenly pushes them forward. But the truth is, motivation doesn't come out of nowhere. It grows from clarity of purpose. Without knowing where you are headed, even the strongest burst of energy quickly fades. That's why defining clear and specific goals is the first and most powerful step in staying motivated every single day. Think of goals as the compass that gives direction to your journey. Without them, you might be moving, but you're wandering aimlessly, and after a while, you'll feel drained and uninspired. A clear goal begins with asking yourself one simple but profound question: why am I doing this? Many people set goals because they feel pressured by society, family expectations, or comparisons with others. They decide to earn more money, lose weight, or study harder not because they truly want it, but because they believe they should. The problem is that such goals rarely create lasting motivation. When difficulties arise, external reasons aren't strong enough to keep you moving. On the other hand, when your goals align with your deepest values and personal vision, they become a natural source of energy. Every action feels purposeful, and even obstacles turn into challenges worth overcoming. Let's imagine two individuals who both decide to wake up early every day. The first person does it because they read somewhere that successful people wake up at 5 a.m. The second person does it because they want to spend the quiet morning hours learning a new skill that connects with their dream career. After a week, the first person may find themselves hitting snooze because the rule feels forced. The second person, however, keeps going because their mornings are tied to something meaningful. This simple example shows why defining goals with clarity and personal connection matters more than just copying habits or chasing vague ideas. Clarity doesn't mean setting only big, lofty dreams like become rich or be successful. In fact, such goals can overwhelm you. Instead, break your vision into specific, actionable steps. For example, if your dream is financial independence, set a smaller, concrete goal. Save $200 this month or learn one new strategy about investing. If your dream is physical health, your first clear goal could be exercising for 20 minutes 3 times a week. These small, clear targets give you something tangible to work toward, and each small win feeds your motivation to continue. One powerful tool for shaping clear goals is the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you simply say, "I want to read more books," the goal is too vague to inspire consistent action. But if you frame it as, "I will read 15 pages every evening before bed for the next 30 days, suddenly you have a concrete structure. The mind loves clarity. It feels rewarding to check off daily progress because you know exactly what you're aiming for. And when you hit that 30-day mark, you experience the joy of achievement, which naturally fuels your desire to aim higher. Another essential part of defining goals is visualization. The human brain responds strongly to images and emotions. If you can vividly imagine yourself achieving the goal, what it looks like, how it feels, how your life changes, you make the goal real in your mind. Athletes use this technique all the time. Before competitions, they visualize themselves crossing the finish line, lifting the trophy, or executing perfect movements. This mental rehearsal builds confidence and sharpens focus. For everyday life, you can apply the same practice. Close your eyes and picture yourself giving a confident presentation, finishing a marathon, or celebrating a career milestone. The clearer your vision, the stronger your motivation to make it a reality. Of course, defining goals also requires honesty about limitations and priorities. You can't chase 10 major dreams at once without diluting your energy. It's better to focus on 1 or 2 meaningful goals and give them your full attention. This doesn't mean ignoring other aspects of life, but rather recognizing that motivation thrives when attention is concentrated. Imagine trying to juggle too many balls at once. Eventually, they all fall. But if you focus on keeping just 2 or 3 in the air, you succeed and feel encouraged to continue. Some people fear setting specific goals because they worry about failure. They think, if I commit to something and don't achieve it, I'll feel worse. But in reality, having no goals at all is far riskier. Failure is not the end, it's feedback. If you don't reach a target, you can adjust your approach, learn from mistakes, and try again. In fact, progress often comes from repeated attempts. A failed attempt still keeps you moving forward, while the absence of goals leaves you stuck. Defining goals doesn't guarantee a perfect journey, but it guarantees that your energy has direction. Another point worth considering is accountability. When you share your goals with others or write them down, they become more real. Keeping them only in your head makes it easier to forget or excuse yourself. You can tell a friend, "I'm aiming to run 3 times a week. Can you check in on me?" Or join a community where people track similar goals. Accountability turns goals into commitments, and commitments naturally strengthen motivation. Ultimately, the purpose of defining clear and specific goals is not only about achieving outcomes, but also about shaping who you become in the process. When you know your why, break it down into concrete steps, visualize your success, and hold yourself accountable. Motivation ceases to be a fleeting feeling. Instead, it becomes a steady force that carries you forward, even on difficult days. Each morning, you wake up knowing exactly what to do and why it matters. And that knowledge is one of the most powerful motivators you can ever cultivate. When we think of motivation, most people imagine it as a sudden rush of excitement that pushes us into action. Yet in reality, motivation doesn't always arrive on its own. Some days, you might wake up feeling inspired, but other days you'll feel heavy, tired, and unwilling to move forward. If you only rely on fleeting emotions, your motivation will rise and fall unpredictably. This is why building positive daily habits becomes essential. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They shape your days and ultimately determine your destiny. By creating routines that align with your goals, you don't have to wait for inspiration. You simply follow a system that naturally sustains your energy and progress. Consider how much of your life already runs on habit. You brush your teeth without thinking, check your phone almost automatically, or grab your morning coffee as if on autopilot. These repeated behaviors don't require much decision-making. And that's exactly why they are powerful. Once an action becomes a habit, it no longer depends on whether you feel motivated in the moment. The action just happens. If you can design your habits intentionally, you give yourself a steady source of momentum that carries you forward even when your emotions fluctuate. The first step to building positive habits is to start small. Many people fail to sustain motivation because they set habits that are too ambitious. For instance, someone who hasn't exercised in years suddenly decides to work out for an hour every day. In the first week, they might push through with excitement, but soon the effort feels overwhelming, and they quit. A more effective approach is to start with a small, easy habit that you can't say no to. Instead of 1 hour of exercise, commit to 5 minutes of stretching. Instead of writing 10 pages in a journal, start with 1 sentence. These micro habits may seem trivial, but they are powerful because they establish consistency. Once consistency is in place, the habit naturally grows stronger. Another important principle is linking habits to existing routines. This is sometimes called habit stacking. For example, if you want to develop a reading habit, place a book on your pillow so you see it every night before bed. If you want to meditate daily, do it immediately after brushing your teeth in the morning. By attaching new habits to established behaviors, you reduce the mental effort needed to remember them. Over time, these linked routines flow together seamlessly, making it easier to stay on track without constant willpower. Equally vital is creating an environment that supports your habits. Your surroundings influence your actions more than you realize. If your desk is cluttered with distractions, you'll find it harder to focus. If your kitchen is stocked with junk food, eating healthy becomes a constant battle. On the other hand, if you arrange your environment thoughtfully, keeping a water bottle within reach, laying out your workout clothes the night before, or turning off unnecessary notifications, you make positive habits the default choice. This isn't about discipline alone. It's about designing your environment to make good decisions easier and bad decisions harder. Consistency is the heartbeat of habit building. Motivation may inspire you to start, but habits ensure you continue. A useful strategy is to adopt the never miss twice rule. Missing a habit once is normal and human. Missing it twice in a row risks creating a downward spiral. If you skip a workout today, commit to doing it tomorrow no matter what. If you forget to journal one evening, write something the next morning. This approach builds resilience and prevents small setbacks from turning into permanent failures. It's also important to infuse your habits with meaning. If a habit feels like a chore, you're less likely to sustain it. But when you connect it to a deeper purpose, it becomes a source of pride. For example, instead of thinking, "I have to exercise," reframe it as, "I'm investing in my strength and longevity." Instead of, "I need to study," think, "I'm opening doors to opportunities that will change my future." This mental shift transforms habits from dull tasks into rituals of self-respect and growth. Celebrating progress is another powerful tool. Each time you keep up with a habit, acknowledge it. Check off a box on a calendar, record it in a tracker, app, or simply say to yourself, "I did it." These small celebrations reinforce the behavior and make you feel good about staying consistent. Over time, the satisfaction of progress becomes addictive in the best way. You'll crave the sense of accomplishment, which fuels further consistency. One of the most overlooked aspects of building habits is patience. In a world obsessed with quick results, it's easy to get frustrated when change doesn't happen overnight. But habits work quietly and compound over time. Think of them as planting seeds. At first you see little growth, but beneath the soil, roots are forming. With steady care, one day the seed sprouts, and eventually it becomes a strong tree. Your daily habits may feel small now, but their long-term impact can be extraordinary. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem like much, but in a year, that's over 3,600 pages, dozens of books. Exercising for 20 minutes might feel modest, but in a year, you've accumulated more than 120 hours of movement. By building positive daily habits, you shift the burden of motivation from your emotions to your system. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like doing this today?" Instead, you simply follow your routine. This reliability protects you from the ups and downs of mood, energy, and circumstance. Over time, these habits shape not just what you do, but who you become. You become someone who naturally chooses growth, someone who automatically leans toward action, someone who embodies consistency, and that identity is the deepest source of motivation you can ever develop. The people, places, and media you surround yourself with are like invisible currents that push you forward or pull you back. If you've ever noticed how spending time with someone cheerful lifts your spirits, or how being around constant negativity leaves you drained, then you've already experienced the power of environment. When it comes to staying motivated every day, surrounding yourself with positive energy is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Motivation doesn't thrive in isolation. It grows stronger when it is nurtured by supportive people, uplifting environments, and inspiring content. One of the most influential factors in your environment is the company you keep. Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." While it might sound cliché, research on social influence supports this idea. If your closest circle of friends is ambitious, optimistic, and growth-oriented, you are far more likely to adopt similar attitudes and behaviors. Conversely, if those around you constantly complain, settle for less, or criticize every attempt at improvement, their energy seeps into you and gradually dims your motivation. Choosing your circle wisely is therefore not selfish. It's an act of self-preservation. Of course, you can't always control who you encounter daily, especially at work or in family situations, but you can control the depth of your engagement. If someone radiates negativity, limit the time you spend with them or set boundaries to protect your energy. At the same time, actively seek out people who inspire you. Join groups, communities, or networks where individuals share your values and aspirations. The encouragement, accountability, and shared excitement in these spaces can be a powerful fuel for your daily motivation. Beyond people, the media you consume also shapes your mindset. Think about how you feel after scrolling through an endless feed of bad news or toxic arguments online, likely exhausted and discouraged. Now compare that to listening to a podcast where successful individuals share their stories, or reading a book filled with uplifting insights. The content you allow into your mind is just as important as the food you put into your body. Garbage in, garbage out. But positivity in, growth, hope, and resilience out. A simple shift in consumption habits, like replacing 15 minutes of negative, scrolling with 15 minutes of motivational content, can set a more encouraging tone for your entire day. Your physical environment also matters. A messy, cluttered space can subconsciously weigh you down, making it harder to feel energized and motivated. On the other hand, a clean, organized, and inspiring environment can uplift your spirit. This doesn't mean your space has to look like a magazine spread, but small touches, like a vision board on the wall, natural light in the room, or even a meaningful quote on your desk, can make a big difference. When your surroundings visually remind you of your goals and values, staying motivated feels less like a battle and more like a natural flow. Another way to cultivate positive energy is through rituals of inspiration. For some, it's listening to uplifting music in the morning. For others, it's starting the day with a motivational video, a spiritual practice, or affirmations. These rituals act as daily anchors, infusing your mind with positivity before the challenges of the day begin. Even something as simple as writing down 3 things you're excited about for the day can shift your mindset toward motivation. Over time, these rituals become a source of emotional resilience, helping you bounce back when life throws difficulties your way. It's also important to recognize that positive energy is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. Life inevitably brings challenges, setbacks, and frustrations. Surrounding yourself with positivity doesn't mean denying these experiences. It means choosing perspectives and influences that help you grow through them. A supportive friend won't tell you to ignore your problems, but they will remind you that you are strong enough to overcome them. An uplifting book won't pretend life is easy, but it will show you examples of perseverance. This kind of positivity doesn't erase hardship. It makes hardship bearable and often transformative. One powerful practice for surrounding yourself with positive energy is intentional gratitude. By actively noticing and appreciating the good around you, whether it's supportive people, helpful resources, or even small daily joys, you shift your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. This mental shift naturally enhances your motivation because it reminds you that progress is possible and that you already have reasons to keep moving forward. Gratitude can be expressed privately through journaling or outwardly through expressing appreciation to others. Both forms deepen connections and reinforce the flow of positive energy in your environment. The digital world, too, can be curated for positivity. Follow accounts that inspire, educate, or uplift, instead of those that drain you. Join online communities where people share progress and encouragement. Unsubscribe from content that consistently makes you feel inadequate or hopeless. Every scroll, every click, every video you watch contributes to the atmosphere in your mind. By choosing wisely, you build a digital environment that supports your motivation instead of sabotaging it. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with positive energy is about building an ecosystem that sustains motivation effortlessly. Instead of relying solely on inner willpower, you let the outer world support you. Each encouraging conversation, each piece of inspiring content, each uplifting ritual becomes like a breeze pushing you forward. And when you inevitably face setbacks, this network of positivity catches you, lifts you, and reminds you why you started in the first place. In the end, motivation is not just about what you do alone. It's about the environment you immerse yourself in daily. By intentionally surrounding yourself with people, content, and spaces that radiate positivity, you transform motivation from a fragile spark into a steady flame that keeps burning, day after day. One of the most common reasons people lose motivation is that they focus too much on how far they still have to go, rather than how far they've already come. When the destination feels distant, the journey can seem overwhelming, and discouragement creeps in. This is why celebrating small achievements is so powerful. It transforms the long path into a series of rewarding milestones. Each celebration acts as fuel, reminding you that progress is real, success is possible, and effort is worthwhile. Motivation thrives not only in the vision of the future, but also in the recognition of the present. Imagine climbing a mountain. If you only keep your eyes fixed on the peak, the distance can feel endless and exhausting. But if you pause to notice each ledge you've conquered, each view that opens along the way, the climb becomes more meaningful. Celebrating small wins is like turning around on that mountain path, looking back, and realizing just how much ground you've already covered. This perspective gives you the energy to continue. Without it, the journey feels like an endless struggle. Small celebrations don't have to be extravagant. In fact, the best ones are often simple and personal. It might be treating yourself to a favorite meal after completing a tough project, taking a moment to acknowledge your progress in a journal, or simply telling yourself, "I did it." These seemingly minor actions signal to your brain that your effort matters. From a psychological standpoint, celebrating small wins activates the reward system in your brain, releasing dopamine, the chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. Each time this happens, you reinforce the behavior and make it more likely you'll repeat it. The beauty of celebrating small achievements is that it creates momentum. Think about how children learn. When a child takes their first step, parents don't wait until the child runs a marathon to celebrate. They cheer immediately, even if the step is wobbly. That encouragement motivates the child to take another step, then another. Adults are no different. When we recognize and celebrate progress, no matter how small, we build momentum that carries us forward. Without that encouragement, we risk giving up before reaching our full potential. There's also a deeper psychological layer. Celebrating small achievements nurtures self-worth. Many people struggle with feelings of inadequacy, constantly comparing themselves to others or holding themselves to impossible standards. By intentionally acknowledging what you've done well, you train yourself to see your own value. This doesn't mean ignoring areas for improvement, but it does mean balancing self-criticism with self-recognition. When you see yourself as capable, your motivation grows naturally because you believe in your ability to keep progressing. Another benefit of celebrating small wins is that it shifts your focus from outcome to process. Too often, we tie our happiness solely to big results, landing the dream job, reaching the ideal weight, achieving financial freedom. But those outcomes can take months or years to arrive. If you postpone joy until then, you risk living most of your journey in frustration. By celebrating the process, each step, each practice, each effort, you make the journey itself rewarding. This not only sustains motivation, but also helps you enjoy life more fully along the way. To make this practice more effective, consider keeping a success journal. Each day, write down one small achievement, no matter how minor it seems. It could be finishing a workout despite being tired, resisting the urge to procrastinate, or making progress on a long-term project. Over time, this collection of wins becomes a powerful reminder of your growth. On days when motivation feels low, flipping through your journal can reignite your confidence and determination. Another way to celebrate small achievements is through sharing. Telling a friend, mentor, or community about your progress not only reinforces your own motivation, but also inspires others. For example, posting about completing your first 5K run can encourage someone else to lace up their shoes. This creates a cycle of motivation where your progress fuels others, and their encouragement fuels you in return. Celebration becomes not just a personal act, but a communal energy that uplifts everyone involved. Of course, there's a balance to strike. Celebrating small achievements doesn't mean becoming complacent or settling for less. It's not about patting yourself on the back for doing the bare minimum indefinitely. Rather, it's about acknowledging effort and progress while still keeping your larger vision in sight. Think of it as fueling your car along the road trip. The small celebrations are like gas stations. They keep you moving, but they're not the final destination. It's also important to recognize that sometimes the act of persevering is itself worthy of celebration. Some days, just showing up counts as a victory. For example, if you're battling low energy but still sit down to write a paragraph, that's worth acknowledging. If you're overwhelmed but still manage to take one step forward, that's progress. Celebrating these moments reminds you that motivation is not about perfection, but about persistence. Ultimately, celebrating small achievements is about cultivating joy in the journey. It turns progress into a source of daily inspiration rather than a distant dream. When you celebrate, you affirm to yourself, I am moving forward, I am capable, I am growing. And that affirmation becomes the fuel you need to keep going. Step by step, win by win, you transform what could have been an exhausting marathon into a rewarding adventure, one where motivation doesn't just survive but flourishes. Motivation is often pictured as a straight line. You set a goal, you work consistently, and eventually you achieve it. But in reality, the journey looks much more like a winding path with ups and downs, obstacles and detours. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll struggle to take even the smallest step. This is why staying motivated every day requires not just discipline, but also flexibility and gratitude. These two elements work hand in hand. Flexibility helps you adapt when things don't go as planned, and gratitude keeps your spirit anchored in meaning, even during difficult times. Flexibility begins with the simple recognition that life is unpredictable. No matter how well you plan, unexpected challenges will arise. Projects get delayed, health issues appear, opportunities fall through, or responsibilities pile up. If you're rigid in your expectations, every disruption feels like a failure. But when you embrace flexibility, setbacks become adjustments, not dead ends. Instead of saying, I failed my plan, you learn to say, I'm adapting my plan. This mindset preserves motivation because you're no longer measuring success by perfect execution, but by your ability to keep moving forward despite challenges. For example, imagine someone who commits to running 5 kilometers every morning. One day it rains heavily, making it impossible to follow through. A rigid person might think, I've failed my routine, I'm not disciplined enough, and lose motivation. A flexible person, however, adapts. They do a home workout instead, or run later in the week. The goal, staying active, remains intact, but the method shifts. This adaptability ensures consistency over time, which is far more valuable than rigid perfection. Flexibility also applies to long-term goals. Sometimes, as you progress, you may discover that your initial target no longer fits your evolving values or circumstances. Perhaps you set out to pursue a career path that looked appealing years ago, but now feels unfulfilling. If you cling stubbornly to it just because it was once your goal, you risk burning out. But if you allow yourself to adjust, shifting careers, modifying timelines, or redefining success, you keep your motivation alive. True motivation isn't about forcing yourself down a fixed road, it's about staying committed to growth while allowing your direction to evolve. Alongside flexibility, gratitude acts as an emotional anchor. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. It means intentionally focusing on what is good, even in the midst of struggle. When you practice gratitude, you train your mind to see possibilities instead of only problems, progress instead of only obstacles. This shift in perspective keeps motivation alive because it reminds you of the resources, people, and opportunities you already have to support your journey. Consider the power of a simple daily gratitude practice. By writing down 3 things you're thankful for each day, you gradually rewire your brain to notice the positive more often. Over time, this builds resilience. When challenges arise, instead of feeling hopeless, you're more likely to think, "This is tough, but I'm grateful for the lessons I'm learning," or "I'm struggling, but I have supportive people around me." Gratitude provides emotional fuel, helping you push through difficulties without losing sight of the bigger picture. Gratitude also magnifies joy in small moments. When you pause to appreciate a good meal, a smile from a friend, or even the fact that you woke up healthy, life feels more meaningful, and meaning is deeply tied to motivation. When your days are filled with appreciation, you naturally want to keep moving forward, not because you're chasing something far away, but because you already find value in the present. Flexibility and gratitude reinforce each other in powerful ways. Flexibility allows you to adapt your actions when things don't go as planned, while gratitude keeps you emotionally steady through those changes. Together, they create a mindset that is both resilient and optimistic. You stop expecting perfection from yourself or the world, and instead, you embrace the journey with openness and appreciation. This combination transforms motivation from a fragile burst of energy into a steady, enduring force. It's important to remember that motivation doesn't mean you'll always feel excited or energetic. Some days motivation looks like quiet, persistence, doing the next right thing even when you don't feel like it. Flexibility gives you the tools to keep going in these moments by allowing you to adapt your approach. Gratitude reminds you why the effort is still worthwhile. Together, they keep you anchored when storms come and lift you higher when the skies are clear. Ultimately, staying motivated every day isn't about chasing constant inspiration. It's about building a mindset and lifestyle that sustains you through both highs and lows. By embracing flexibility, you ensure that obstacles don't derail you. They simply redirect you. By practicing gratitude, you keep your heart aligned with meaning, so even small steps feel valuable. When these 2 practices become part of your daily life, motivation stops being something you search for. It becomes something you naturally live. And here we are. You now know the secrets to staying motivated every single day. Remember, motivation isn't about luck. It's about the habits you build and the actions you take starting today. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button so I know you want more content like this. Don't forget to leave your feedback or a comment, because your support is the biggest motivation for me to keep creating better videos for you. So, what are you waiting for? Share your thoughts, and let's keep this journey going together.